Oh hey there guys, it's been a week or so since I've done an actual informative video aside from news and updates, so I decided to put together a list of my current top 5 tips that I feel most players are not aware of. So before we get into it, I just have to point out to any of you that are not aware of me or my channels, I am currently in the top 0.03% of players in Twine Peaks. I'm power level 69, I completed the level 70 14-day Survive the Storm event, and I have not missed a day of Fortnite since the game was released 2 months ago. Why must I state these credentials? Well, because I have a small obsessed negative Nancy following that will always try to discredit or dismiss any of my tips, strats, and most importantly, my godlike skills. JK. But also because it's fun to brag just a little. Now, let's get into it. First up, tip number 1. If you knock a mist monster off the map in order to kill it during a storm chest event, it will not be counted and a replacement will not spawn, rendering your chance at bonus loot null and void. For those of you who are not familiar with storm chests yet, they are a random map spawn similar to radar towers, anomalies, and blue glow trolls. Damn trolls. Anyway, once you stumble upon a storm chest, you have to activate it, which then starts a 1-minute timer. During that time, storms begin to spawn in husks, and your goal is to kill 25 of them before the time runs out. Now, if you kill the 25 during that time, a second objective pops up for you to kill an additional 25. So, a total of 50 in the given 60 seconds. And finally, if you are able to do that, a third and final objective becomes active, instructing you to kill 2 mist monsters, usually 1 taker and 1 mouth breather, aka blaster. A lot of people will bust out their high-impact weapons or their rocket launchers to annihilate these beasts, but what can easily happen is that you will knock one of them off a cliff, especially since most of the storm chests spawn at the edge of the map, as seen on screen. So be careful. Be careful with your shots. Tip number 2. Poison lobbers do not do damage to buildings. Again, some of you might not know what a poison lobber is. I believe they are either introduced in Plankerton or in Candy Valley. I can't remember exactly. It's been way too long. You can tell the two apart by the color of flames that surrounds the top of their heads, and also by the color of their projectile ball of goodness that the lobbers, wait for it, lob at you. The poison ones are a yellowish color, while the siege damage ones are purple. So if you begin to see a bunch of these around your objective, you do not need to start building sky-high walls to block these shots from your objective. They can't damage it, but they will leave a small poisonous cloud that is annoying to stand in and also impairs your vision, so sometimes a ceiling is good regardless. Tip number 3. Propane Husks, aka Hank Hill Husks, will throw their ignited tanks in your direction, and if you switch to your pickaxe, you can actually play baseball with these fatties and smack it right back into their face, regardless of the distance. I've had some go as far as 6 tiles, depending on how far away I am from Mr. Hank Hill once the tank reached me. Please note that this can be a little wonky based on the connection quality to Epic's Amazon Web Services. Sometimes you can swing right when it visibly crosses home plate. That's a baseball reference, BT dub. And other times you will need to swing like a raging lunatic as it gets close. So the next time you are on the front lines of your objective and you accidentally let a propane husk get close enough to throw a tank at you, don't worry. Just switch to your pickaxe and return to sender. Or, however, if you don't see it at all until it's at your feet, well, just tell your teammates you chose to take one for the team. Tip number 4. A floating atlas does not need protection. It is more than capable of raw dogging it all by itself up in the air. You do, however, have to build up to it in order to place it. So if you build stairs or walls, husks will walk up them and or attack them. But if you build archways, they ignore them 100%. They will not attack the archways, and they will not congregate down below like penguins in a zoo at mealtime, just waiting for it to drop. Out of all my Fight the Storm missions I've done, I had 1 siege lobber once fire towards the other grounded atlas and hit the floating atlas. The only thing that will target the floating atlas is the masturbators, aka the flingers. Get it? The big, the big, anyways. But again, they don't prioritize the floating atlases. They will only fire flaming husks towards the atlas that is closest to them. So if you have a floating atlas on the south edge and all of the husks are spawning north side, they're not going to fling them up in the air towards the floating atlas, only if that's the closest target. One last thing, you get a bonus medal for keeping the atlases above, I think 50% health or so. It's nothing, there is no medal for 100%. You can literally let a flinger run around the whole time and it will not cause enough damage to your floating atlas. And if you're super worried about it, just go chase or kill the damn masturbator. With that said, You do not need to climb up into the air and build a floating fortress, for the record. But if you're gonna have a panic attack over it, don't do what you must. Build your walls up around it. And lastly, tip number 5: wall launchers and how to properly set them up. When people use wall launchers, they have a tendency, and let's just pretend that the husks are going to path up this ramp and head down this way, right? Okay. There. They do that and call it good. So the issue with this is that when a husk is standing anywhere in this tile, it will trigger the wall launcher. So you would figure, hey, it works. It's working. Well, if the husk is typically on the edge over here, I'm not sure if it's exactly on this half or just this third of the tile, and it triggers the wall launcher, they do not get hit by it. So they will walk and trigger everything, and then if there's a bunch behind it, it puts the wall launcher on cooldown, and then you just have all kinds of husks moving down your line, not being affected. So how you beat it and make it effective is you slap these guys here. I've had people ask why I do that. There's also another reason behind this. So this will force all your husks to pad up against the wall, and then it launches them off. The other thing that this does is it will clump them together and make them more of a single file line, or if it's the small walkers, it'll put them at most 2x2 if they squeeze by together. Smashers can get through here. Everybody can get through here. But if you were to get like a mouth breather or a smasher here and he's stuck and you're shooting at him and he gets pissed off, everything behind him gets locked up, therefore getting more chances to get hit by the wall launcher. So you put these in here. So these are good. They've got the least amount of HP. Another one you can do is just the 2 high, which is still the same width, but now it has 450 health versus 365. You can make these out of whatever material you like. If you piss off a smasher, the smasher will gut all of this. So you might want to make these out of, if you make these level 3 stone or metal, they will usually block the smasher. I know that the level 3 metal will. It'll stop a smasher from charging. I believe the level 3 stone will as well. I'd have to go test it. And the only time that it would not work is if it was metal and it was a nature smasher, he'll rip through it like butter. So that wraps up this video. Hopefully a couple of these tips were helpful, if not all of them. I'm working on another MythBuster style video with some helpful info, along with a guide to building kill tunnels. Later down the road, I plan on doing a few more build guides on the Atlas and Van missions specifically, similar to how I did the Retrieve the Data missions. And trust me, if they work here in Twine Peaks, they will work everywhere. Silly rabbits, tricks are for kids. Also, as a reminder, I stream daily over on Twitch at twitch.tv/SlyGumbi from 8 p.m. till 2 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. There's also a link in the description below. And with that, I'm out. See you on the next one. Bye-bye now.